right, folks, welcome back. We are episode 10 of Run It By My Lawyer. And today is going to be my favorite episode because I don't know how you call it. What do you call it when you're high on drugs? I went to the dentist today. I got a root canal. Most miserable experience. All I could say about root canals is that when I was a kid and I heard of somebody getting a root canal, I thought to myself, this is old people problems, right? And now I'm the one getting root canals. Thankfully, the doctor gave me a lot of numbing stuff. So if I start slurring my speech or anything like that, you know why. And then the worst part of the incident was afterwards, I needed to get some ibuprofen, right? I'm going to show you. So I get one thing of ibuprofen from CVS and check out this receipt, okay? For those of you who are listening to this as opposed to watching this, okay, I have in my hand a receipt that is about 30, 40 inches long, okay? And worse than that, when I told the lady I didn't want the receipt, she made it sound like I was, throwing away my baby or something. No, are you sure you don't want this receipt, sir? Anyway, and then the only thing worse than this root canal is our friend Will Smith. The good news about Will Smith is I'm only going to talk about it for about 30 seconds and I'm never going to bring it up again, all right? Hopefully, today's Wednesday, March 30. Hopefully by the time this comes out, which will be in a couple days, nobody's going to be talking about Will Smith anymore, hopefully, okay? I do some comedy, as most of you folks know, it's a big hobby of mine, doing stand-up comedy. And one thing I always tell people is, you got to be careful about how you make fun of people. And the way I say it is, yo mama jokes are funny as long as I'm not talking about your mama, okay? There's a fine line. You make yo mama jokes, but not your mama jokes, okay? You got to know how to walk that line. All right. So on to today's topic. Jeff Bezos and Amazon.com. There are several reasons why Jeff Bezos is a multi-billionaire, and a lot of them are very questionable, and a lot of them people do not completely understand, okay? So as Run It By My Lawyer, I could explain some of what I'm talking about. There was a very good lawsuit filed last year in Washington, D.C. The Attorney General filed a lawsuit in Washington, D.C. against Amazon.com for antitrust violations. And this is what was in the lawsuit, okay? So what Amazon does, a lot of their sales happens through what's called third-party sellers, okay? And these third-party sellers will sell something on Amazon.com, and obviously Amazon makes a lot of money from it, okay? They charge commission, they charge a flat fee, they charge what they call a referral fee. I mean, it's just like nonstop, right? Sometimes those fees that Amazon charges go to 40%, sometimes 35%. That's a big commission, right? So anyway, what Amazon was doing is this: they require these third-party sellers to have they call it the most favorable nation status. What does that mean? The third-party seller cannot sell that same product elsewhere for a lower price, all right? So what that means is, let's say they're selling some sort of shoes on Amazon.com and whatever brand and whatnot at $80. They cannot sell it elsewhere for $75, not even on their own websites. Or on, if they try to go to other websites, they can't sell it for less than $80. Now, the reason why the Attorney General files this lawsuit against Amazon.com is because it changes the market in a lot of ways, keeping in mind that the online sales market is about 70% that Amazon has or more, depending on what study you're looking at. So what ends up happening is that the third-party seller is basically forced to sell it on Amazon.com, right? Because they're forcing that seller to have the best price on Amazon.com. And then, right, so that seller is forced to sell it on Amazon.com, which is great for Amazon because then they could charge more fees. The other way that this stifles competition is that it reduces the likelihood that these big third-party sellers will want to sell on other platforms, like Shopify or eBay or, Walmart.com or whatever. Okay, they don't want to go to the other sites because they're not going to be successful there, right? And then it's kind of like a circular thing. It's like then those other sites don't have as much traffic. They don't have as many people coming in, and then they can't offer, their services as well. So Amazon has found a way through this practice to really kind of grip the market. And my issue with Amazon is that it's not like they gripped the market in a fair, a completely fair way. What a lot of these big companies have done, Amazon being one of them, is they, whenever there's a competitor, like a small competitor that starts doing really good, it's then the big company says, this is an upstart company here. If we're not gonna beat them, let's just buy them. That saying, if you can't beat them, join them. A lot of the big companies, instead of that, they say, if you can't beat them, buy them. All right. And I kind of did my research about all of the competitors and other companies that Amazon has purchased through the years. And let's go through some of them, okay? They bought IMDb in the 1990s. That one being a good one because then, they have like these databases of the celebrities and some, the titles of movies and how they could kind of broadcast them and advertise them. They purchased a company in 1999 called livebid.com. They spent $300 million, and that company in 1999 was not anywhere near the value of $300 million. So why would Amazon purchase something for $300 million if it wasn't worth $300 million? And that's because there's a hidden value there of killing the competition. Then they purchased accept.com, and then some notable ones, they purchased a company for a lot of money, and that company was called Back to Basics Toys. That is a big one because one of the biggest, products that they sell is obviously toys. So what they're concerned about is a company that comes out there and then starts selling toys. And once they become really popular, if they become more and more popular, they may get the toy market. And if they get the toy market, just like Amazon had the book market, at first they were selling books, then they could like branch out, right? So then they purchased that company. This was in 1999. And then I'm telling you, this would be the worst podcast in the world if I went over all of Amazon's purchases of competitors because there's hundreds, okay? But no, we'll go through some notable ones. They also bought a company called BookSurge. Okay, so Egghead Software, trying to make sure they keep the grip on the software. The book companies, they bought Audible for $300 million. That is also a book company. One of the things Audible does is they take books and they have a Audible version of the book, right? They purchased for over $1 billion, in fact, $1.2 billion, Zappos, all right? Short for zapatos, shoes. So this company was a major fashion company, right? Selling clothing and shoes. That is also something that Amazon does. They sell clothing and shoes, right? And so what's the best way that they could compete against Zappos.com? They could buy it, right? And then, speaking of fashion, where was there was another one. It was called what the heck was it called? I should know because they spent another $300 million on it. Wondery.com or Wondery and Wondery.com. That one also is a big fashion company. Anyway, so we go back to why the Attorney General filed this lawsuit, and that's because Amazon has such a big market share. And part of the way that they acquired this big market share is by doing this anti-competitive behavior of buying the competitors. All right. And then once it buys the competitors, then it could start, it increases the market share, and it increases how much it costs to buy, products from Amazon. And it increases how much Amazon could charge their third-party vendors. I mean, think about it. They get away with charging. I mean, they're squeezing the third-party sellers by charging them about, could be up to 40%. And they make it so unfavorable to go to the other platforms, online platforms to sell. I've had a lot of clients that sold on Amazon that really get frustrated by these things, right? Now, it for the life of me, okay, I cannot figure out why this is allowed, okay? The Europeans are much more strict about these antitrust laws. This type of thing Amazon had to abandon in Europe, okay? They shut down this practice in Europe. Somehow, for some crazy reason, the federal court in Washington, D.C. dismissed the lawsuit, okay? The federal court found that, this isn't that bad, And look, part of the reason is our antitrust laws in the United States are very outdated. They're the Anti-Sherman Act and some of the other ones, they're over 100 years old. So sometimes with the e-commerce, they can kind of like wiggle, their way around it. The Attorney General in Washington, D.C. did state that he's going to appeal that judgment, especially because it was found illegal in Europe, and then they stopped doing it in Europe. I have one case in point that I want to bring out to kind of show how this affects all of us, and kind of the theory behind why Amazon does this. Okay, so in 2011, they purchased a company called, Quicid. Okay, Quicid owned soap.com, diapers.com. So, and then Quicid sold, like diapers, soap, other household items. Okay, they bought the company for $545 million. Okay, so that's well over $500 million. They purchased it in the year 2011. Now, after that, 5-6 years later, they closed everything from that company, and they fired hundreds of workers in New Jersey. Why did they do that, right? Why would they purchase a company for over $500 million, then close it and fire everybody? Well, the firing everyone's easy, right? They save money. And then what Amazon said, I have to directly quote Jeff Bezos and his representatives. Okay, here we go. They closed this company down that they purchased for more than $500 million because they said, and I quote now, Jeff Bezos and his representatives, this is their statement: "We have worked extremely hard for the past 7 years to get Quicidi to be profitable. And unfortunately, we have not been able to do so." Okay. That's straight from Jeff Bezos and his representatives. So what they're saying is they purchased a company for over $500 million that wasn't profitable. Okay. And then they closed that company. So what they actually got was that company's customer lists, right? Their vendors, their, third-party sellers, their third-party retailers, all of that. they were able to acquire it and then use it and then put those entities into their, sphere, okay? And then fire everybody. They also got the luxury, you can say, of one less big competitor. Do you see what I'm saying? So, that is one case in point, okay? And believe me, if I went over all the other ones, like I said, people would kill me because it would be so. There's so many. Another, in Europe, a lot of these big companies like Facebook and Amazon and Google, they do get dinged for billions of dollars for antitrust violations. As my business law professors would have probably said, that's because Europe, they're communists there, and it goes back. I mean, look, this theory goes back, centuries. Okay, the Karl Marx, okay, wrote in Das Kapital, the fear with the big companies is that the best way that they could become profitable. Imagine 5 big companies, right? And 3 of them are super big, and 2 of them are, not that big. Then the only way those 2 companies will work is if they merge. All right. Then we have 4 big companies with one of them being bigger than the other ones, the ones that just merge. Then we got 4 companies. Then 2 other companies will have to merge so that they can keep competing. Now we have 3 ginormous companies, and sooner or later, that third one that didn't merge anywhere with the other ones, it's going to have to merge, right? And this is kind of what the fear is. Then when all of them merge, then they don't have any competition, right? The United States, the theory is we have antitrust lawsuits that try to prevent this, but we shall see how it continues. This kind of works. Oh, and then the recent purchases, by the way, from Amazon is they also bought MGM Grand. I'm sorry, MGM, not MGM Grand. That's a casino. They bought MGM for $8.5 billion. That is a big purchase. Now, the reason why they did that is because they were able to acquire, a lot of the entertainment industry for their Amazon Prime subscription service, and they know that when they get new people in, they have the the streaming service, right? Then they have all these customers that are buying that. Then they know what these customers like, how to market to them. They get them into their other brackets, right? And then they up their grip in the marketplace, and that's why they could squeeze the third-party sellers. All right. I will, the examples go on, with the other companies as well. Facebook, I had friends that have actually told me, I'm so mad at Zuckerberg. I canceled my Facebook account and then I went to Instagram. That kills me because Facebook purchased Instagram. Instagram is Facebook. Facebook is Instagram. Do you remember that movie, Ace Detective Pet? Wait. Ace Ventura Pet Detective, right? At the end, he said something like,
"That's it. That's it. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is a man. Oh my God! Einhorn is a man!
Finkel is detective and the detective is Finkel, so it's the same thing with Amazon and Instagram and that Amazon Facebook and Instagram. And then Facebook also purchased WhatsApp. Why would they do that? WhatsApp is probably by far the best kind of communication system. A lot of, especially my clients from around the world, they only use WhatsApp to communicate because it's amazing. You could text people all around the world and you can call them like as if they're right next door. So it's a very, very good platform. Facebook, I don't know what they may have been like $12 billion. Don't quote me exactly, but so they purchased that and they purchased Instagram. Same kind of thing as Amazon. Okay, Zuckerberg does that because they know, wow, these other companies, they could all of a sudden beat us out, right? I mean, if WhatsApp just started doing kind of like a social network type of thing or a social media thing, they would have been amazing, right? And they have all these users already, and same with Instagram. So it's like they purchase a competitor, and then ultimately, they'll do something. Maybe they'll just fire the employees. I did have a relative that worked for this company called Nokia. Like a software engineering company. They were purchased by Microsoft. And I told him, I said, okay, get ready. They're about to fire you. And he called me crazy. He said, no way. I'm working for Bill Gates. I'm working for Microsoft. A year and a half later, he got his walking papers. The walking papers are the layoff papers. All right. Well, my good friends, there is, I had on another subject, this whole run up by my lawyer. I did have someone run something by me, not related to these jerks. What the heck did he do? Okay, here's some criminal law advice for everybody. And that criminal law advice is keep your mouth shut at all times. Never, ever talk to the police. Okay. I'm not sure how I could say that better. This is what happened to this guy that called me. He kind of got busted because he had a lot of drugs in his car, right? Actually, it was very little, but he was making some sort of drug transaction, and that's when they busted him, right? He's not a friend of mine. It was his dad. That's a kind of a buddy of mine. So then, he's calling me about his son, right? So I looked at everything, the transcripts and the whatnot. So they busted the son. The son is an adult, right? He lives with 3 other people. So there's 4 people in a house, which makes sense in California. Everything's so freaking expensive, right? So there's 4 people living in the house. Simultaneously, when they busted him, they had a search warrant and they checked out his house, right? And there's a lot of other drugs there. So in the station, they take him down to the station and they're asking him, they're like, well, we found your other drugs, this and this and that. And he's like, oh, well, really? And then they said, look, we're about to arrest you, everyone else in the house, the other, your buddies. But they're saying it's not theirs, and we're about to arrest them and bring them in, and they're going to be in big trouble. We'll let them go. Just confirm it's yours. He's like, yeah. So they're like, okay, cool. We're going to let them go. The truth of the matter was they weren't doing any of that. It was all a lie. Cops are allowed to lie. People look at me weird when I say that. They're allowed to lie. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say police officers shall never lie, right? So anyway, so they have him, and I looked at the transcript, and I couldn't even bear to watch the videotape because I was just gonna like scream. But they have him saying, yes, that's mine. And that was the majority of the charges that they have against him, because what he had in the car was very little compared to what he had at his house. It would have been a tough case against him because there's 4 occupants in the house. So to prove that all of that was his would have been almost impossible had he kept his mouth shut. And if, right? Because how are they going to it's not like he has a receipt. It's not like he went to CVS and bought it and they gave him some sort of big receipt, right, for all that cocaine. No, that's not it. Okay. So he could have probably beaten the rat, or at least he would have had a much better chance, right, had he kept his mouth shut. So my advice for the day, just keep your mouth shut, just for the hell of it. Okay. Just keep it shut. All right, cool. So I enjoyed my time here. I hope you did as well. And happy Cesar Chavez Day. By the time you get this, it'll be Cesar Chavez Day. And hopefully by the time we communicate again, we will never, ever talk about Will Smith. Thank you.